Can you just send us the raw files? We usually don't do 50% deposits. This will be great exposure. Yes, you guessed it. Today we're talking about client red flag. What are the biggest red flags I see and how can we avoid these clients before they begin working with us? I've worked with over 50 businesses ranging from small shops to large corporations. I've seen a lot of red flags during the past few years doing product photography. Over the past month, I posted all these red flags on Twitter and you guys love them, so today we're diving into them. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Chris Pieta. I teach creative business and run a product photography company. We're talking about client red flags today, but let's take care of something real quick. This is not me bashing my clients. I love my clients. They're the reason why my business exists. They are the life of my business. But every so often, you come across a client that is really tough to work with. They micromanage, pay their invoices late, and have unrealistic expectations. These are the clients we want to avoid. If we could figure out what red flags to look out for, we'll be able to screen for these clients. Watch until the end of the video and I'll teach you how I actually filter out these clients before they become clients. With that out of the way, let's get into red flag number 1. We can find someone cheaper, but we just love your work. Can you give us a discount? Okay, there's a lot to unwrap here. On the surface, it might seem like they're just asking to get the best deal, but they've already admitted that they don't really value your rate. They're comparing your rate with that of cheaper photographers. Yes, they love your work and they acknowledge it's too expensive for them, but they also are saying that if someone is doing it for cheaper, so should you. There's a reason people do it cheaper, because they are not as good as you. When the client begins looking at the numbers and not the value behind your work, that is a red flag. They just care about their bottom line. They just want the best photographer for the cheapest price. And yes, as a business, this makes sense, but they don't understand that cheaper may be less expensive on paper, but they will also get a lower ROI from working with that cheaper photographer. An expensive product photographer can increase sales for a company, and that's a goal of those companies. It's okay for clients to ask for a lower rate, but when they start comparing you to cheaper options, this raises a red flag. Number 2, this one is an instant deal breaker. They refuse to pay a 50% deposit. A 50% deposit is standard in photography contracts. Unless you're doing a long-term retainer, a 50% deposit is non-negotiable. Clients that refuse to pay this will be a nightmare to work with in the long term. This is a red flag that you can't accept. This was a quick and easy one. Okay, moving on, client red flag number 3. Your contract is intense. I've heard other photographers say this, and I've even gotten it a few times myself, even though my contracts are only 2/3 of a page. This usually means they haven't worked with many creative professionals. They might not be used to contracts. Both of these make working with clients harder. It's much easier to work with experienced clients so they have an idea of what working with a professional is like. On the other hand, if they aren't used to contracts, they might only be used to working with inexpensive and unprofessional creatives. This makes things a lot harder for you. Also, if they're asking you to remove terms from your contract, they're acting a little shady. Sometimes it's fine to remove a term here and there, but if they're rewriting your contract, then this client might not be the best to work with. Okay, so we've gone through 3 red flags here, and I need to tell you a harsh truth. If you have 0 clients and you're getting started in photography, you're gonna have to put up with these red flags. Having a red flag client is better than having 0 clients. Hopefully your first clients are awesome, but if they aren't, well, at least you have social proof saying that you've worked with real clients. So at the start, you might have to bite the bullet and work with these bad clients. Anyways, let's talk about red flag number 4. We don't have a budget yet, but we want you to be part of the mission. Okay, so I think I heard this one from one of you guys actually, but wow. They can't bring themselves to admit what they're actually looking for. They want free work. That's it. And they're painting you as being part of the mission. If a client tells you this, you can respond by asking for a stake in the company. Be like, yeah, I'd love to be part of this mission. How about a 1% stake in the company in exchange for all the services I'll be providing? At this point, they will try and backtrack and think of some excuse to try and get that free work out of you. Number 5 is really similar. My girlfriend Kayla actually heard this from a company. We want to do things organically. No, you want free work. The mental gymnastics they're trying to do here to justify them getting free work is pretty funny. They'll try and justify getting people to work for free by calling it organic work. That's silly. Working for free is fine. I actually recommend it to get those first clients. But when the expectation from the client approaching you is free work, then that's not okay. Free work should only happen when you approach the client. If you have 0 clients in your niche, you can try something like, hey, I offer product photos for food brands and I've gotten some ideas for Tom's Granola. I'm new to this niche, but I've been doing photography for 5 years. I'm offering my base package for free. No strings attached, I'm just trying to build up my portfolio. Something like this conveys why you're offering free work and gives massive value to the client. Working for free is good in the beginning of your journey, but only when you're the one approaching them. Okay, last 2 here. 6 and 7 are pretty similar and I want to get into these. Number 6, they can't describe what they're looking for. And number 7, all the photographers they've hired haven't been good enough. When they say all the photographers haven't been good enough, 9 times out of 10, the client is the problem, not the photographer. This comes down to them not knowing what they want. Everyone you meet in the world sucks. Chances are it's not the other people, it's you. If all your relationships fail, it's probably your fault. And if all the photographers you hire suck, well, it's probably something wrong with you. These types of clients you want to avoid. I've worked with a few of these where they said they don't know what they're looking for. They can't provide examples of what they want. And there's a big difference between a client giving you creative control versus not knowing what they want. I always ask clients for brands that they like and would like to emulate. This gives me an idea of what kind of creative direction I should take for a project. This is usually pretty straightforward for clients to come up with. They send me a few photos they like and we shoot and they're happy. I had one client though who said he couldn't find any examples of what he likes online, and he knows in his head what he likes but refused to provide examples or even descriptions. This left me in the dark for the project. I love the assets I made, but the client wasn't happy. I asked him how we can make this right and what direction I could take with the photos, and he just said, I like what I like, and refused to provide any examples. So that's why it's important for clients to have some idea of what they want. By the way, if you have 0 clients right now, grab my free creative business checklist in the description below. It's gotten over 3,000 downloads, which is crazy in my mind. It walks you through the steps to jumpstart your creative business in 30 days. Free download in the description. Okay, so how do we screen for red flag clients? This is an important tactic we can use so that we only work with good clients. There's one question I ask all of my potential clients. I like to do discovery calls, so during the call, I ask, why did you stop working with your previous photographer? This reveals a lot about the client. If they rant about how the photographer couldn't get the shoot right after a few reshoots, then that's a red flag. If they say the photographer had long turnaround times, then that's a great answer. Listen to how they answer this question. Is it a problem with themselves or with the photographer? This is such an important screening question. Over time, you'll begin to learn which clients will actually be easier to work with and which will suck. Most of the time, clients are great, but for the 10% of clients that are tough to work with, it's important to be able to screen them before we begin working with them. Okay, one more thing here. What happens when you come across a red flag and don't want to work with them, but they still want to work with you? The simplest thing to do here is to raise your rates. Raise them to a point where you'd be fine working with them. If you normally charge $1,000 for your base package, maybe charging $3,000 makes it worth it to work with this client. What price is high enough for that headache to be worth it? Present the client with this new price, and either you make a lot of money with the client or you lose the red flag client and you're still happy. That's all I got. My name is Chris Pieta, and I will see you in the next one.